Hello friends, welcome to this lecture of C++ programming. In this lecture I will discuss about how you can make the study of C++ programming easier. In order to make the C++ programming easy, you have to keep in mind some of the few things that I am telling you. The first thing is that whatever the video you are watching, you have to be focused to that video and you have to carry a register to note down what I am telling you. Secondly, whatever the program I am going to discuss in my lecture, all those programs are 100% executable on the system. So you just require to go to your system and run this program to make sure that this programming is running in a proper way. So let us first understand why do we require C++ programming and how to study the C++ programming, where to begin the C++ programming. So when you are going to study about the C++ programming, you have to first make sure why we actually study the computer programming, any computer programming language. So the reason is that the fundamental of the basic understanding of the language start from the definition of the language itself. Why a particular person want to learn a language? Because language provides you a medium to communicate with someone. In real life also, we do learn the language to communicate with someone. If anybody doesn't know the language, it becomes difficult for him or her to communicate what he or she thinks or what he or she needs. So in order to make others to know about your views, thoughts and your needs, you must know some language to communicate with others. So I'm taking two scenarios, one scenario related to the real life and one scenario that I want to take with regard to the computer programming language. See, there are two persons and both of them know some sort of language. Suppose they both know English language. Since the medium of language between two persons is common as English language, it is very easy for them to communicate with each other. But the problem starts when this person is knowing English language and this person is knowing French language. Or say he is knowing Tamil or Hindi. So there is a difference between the knowledge of the language between these two persons. So it is very difficult for them to communicate with each other. So this is a scenario 1 and this is a scenario 2. So all these scenarios are related to real life situation. If we compare it to the technical language, if there is a person who wants to communicate with system, and we know that a system basically works on the machine language. That is, it consists of a sequence of zeros and ones. But the person who is going to communicate with system is knowing some sort of natural language, suppose English language. So it is difficult to make communication between a person and a machine. So we require, if we compare this thing with a real life scenario, if this person is not able to communicate with a person who is having the knowledge of some other language, he or she requires some sort of interpreter. So here we require some sort of interpreter. So this interpreter basically has a knowledge of both the language. This person will pass his or her message to this person in English, and he will convert that language to in French and pass the message to the second person. And in this fashion, it becomes possible for both of them to understand each other's need and desire. Likewise, in system also, we require some sort of interpreter and this interpreter is basically known as compiler, or you can know it by some other name like interpreter or any sort of translator. So the basic idea of using compiler or interpreter here is to translate any language, suppose English, and that English language is going to be in some sort of source code, and this source code can be in C language, C++ language, Java language, or any high level language, because the compiler is made to understand only the source code that belongs to any of these language. So the source code basically has the constructs defined in the English language itself, so it becomes easy for a person to learn these language to pass the message to translator, and this translator either as a compiler or interpreter will convert that message into machine language and pass it on to the computer. And in this fashion we can instruct the computer to do whatever we want to have from the system. And basically the main idea of doing so is to solve our real life problems. And in order to solve the real life problems in computers, we require to build software. And software is nothing but a collection of programs. And these programs can be written using any of the higher level language. So that is the idea to learn the C++ language. So we will talk about different concepts and try to learn the C++ language in easy and efficient manner.